Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the National Disaster Management Authority, right? This is the topic on which we are discussing right now. And basically within this particular topic of the National Disaster Management Authority, all of these are the subtopics or the topics that we had scheduled for the discussion. Like starting with the definition part, thereafter disasters that happened over time, thereafter the causes of disaster, thereafter the impacts of disaster, thereafter elements of disaster management in India, thereafter establishment of NDMA, thereafter objectives of the NDMA, thereafter functions of the NDMA, then additional functions of the NDMA, then State Disaster Management Authority, and then District Disaster Management Authority. So all these were the topics that we had scheduled for the discussion. If we talk about the topics we have covered so far, definition part is what we have covered. Disasters happened over time. This is also what we have covered. The topic on which we are discussing, causes of a disaster. And a topic that we are left with, impacts of a disaster, elements of disaster management in India, establishment of the NDMA, objectives of the NDMA, functions of the NDMA, additional functions of the NDMA, State Disaster Management Authority, District Disaster Management Authority. So this is the picture that we have created so far altogether. In the previous lecture, basically, we had started our discussion over the National Disaster Management Authorities in order to find out the cause of a disaster. Like basically we said, the first thing, the disaster is a catastrophic event, like, and we had discussed that this could be a man-made or the you can say the natural and all. Okay. Thereafter, the next point that we had discussed basically was that management, right? Management here includes that how we could mitigate the effects and all. Okay. And there we had taken an example of the famous you can say your wedding functions and all, right? So basically we had discussed that first thing that we required here is the identification of cause, right? Because if we are not able to know the cause, then how we will be able to mitigate it and how we will be able to counter it. The cause of the disaster is the foremost thing that is to be countered. Once the cause will be clear, automatically our ability to counter the disaster would be clear. Okay. And as we know, the disasters can have various causes depending on the type of disaster. Especially in the countries like we live in, India, the disasters could have a varied cause because the Indian geography is a vast. Like we discussed when we talk about North India, okay, mainly in the Himalayan parts and all. What could be the major cause? The major cause for disaster could be the landslide, the snowslide, avalanches, even earthquakes sometimes. Similar with the northern plains. Basically the tsunami, or not tsunami, the flood and all, that could be the disaster cause. Western part, drought could be there. Central part, earthquakes and all. And southern part, basically the tsunami. And when we talk about northeastern part, then basically the heavy rainfall and the flood situation. So you can say that basically Indian geography is that much of vast. That's why Indian disasters that happen in India, they could have varied causes. First thing, in order to manage the disaster, we are required to understand the cause. And here, the first cause that we discussed in the previous lecture was the natural phenomenon. Okay, like we had discussed, the major cause of some catastrophic disasters often stem from the natural phenomena, okay, that occurs both within the earth crust and on earth surface. Okay, earth crust and on earth surface. Okay, whenever we talking about earth crust, so we have talked about the earthquake, and on earth surface we have talked about the volcanic eruptions. So we had discussed that basically the earth is having the three divisions whenever we talk about the interior of the earth: the crust, mantle, and core. Okay, so we know the earth crust and mantle having an layer that is known as the asthenosphere. Okay, and above the asthenosphere, the earth crust is divided into the tectonic plates. Okay, these are the lithospheric division. And thereafter, we had discussed that suppose there are two tectonic plates. Whenever these plates got grind against each other or got collide against each other, then always they release a tremendous amount of energy because of their collision. And often these tremendous amount of energy basically resulting in the generation of seismic waves. Okay, and these seismic waves are of two types. And what are these two types? This is the question that I'm going to ask you. What are the two types of seismic waves? To answer this, you will have the tenure of 30 seconds to think and answer, and your time starts now. We had just discussed this in the previous lecture, so there is nothing that you are not aware about it. So just think what we had discussed, because these seismic waves are important not only because of our this chapter but also for a competitive exam point of view. Okay, so 20 seconds have been passed, last 10 seconds are remaining. Okay, the time's up. Seismic waves are generally of two types. P waves stands out for primary, S waves stands out for secondary wave. Okay, the P waves are the first wave to be generated, do not require any medium like solid, liquid, gaseous is not required for them. They originate from the seismic waves and could move in whatever directions. Okay. Thereafter, the second one is the S waves, or called as secondary waves. The secondary waves are those waves that generate after the P waves, but they require a medium. And thereafter, we discussed that these secondary waves move through the solid surfaces of the rocks that we have beneath the earth, and from there they get connected to the earth's surface, like this one. And thereafter, whatever is above this earth surface, that is going to be destroyed, right? And generally, the secondary waves are the one that makes the ground to shake. Thereafter, we had discussed about the volcanic eruptions. This occurs when the magma that is below the earth's surface, or exactly in the mantle, this somehow manage to escape to the surface. Okay, and then This caused an explosion of lava, ash, gases. Okay, and these all combinedly can lead to the widespread destruction in the surrounding areas. Okay, that's the thing. Now, after this, like we had just revised what we had covered in the previous lecture. Okay, now it's a time to learn about the new things of the causes of a disaster. Moon activity. According to some research, the gravitational pull of moon could influence the seismic activity on Earth. Like gravitational pull, what do you mean by this? So basically we know in any heavenly or the universal body, basically there is a force that exists, what we call as an gravitational force. The gravitational force is a force of attraction between any two objects to attract each other. Like suppose if there is one object, there is another object, so they both will exercising their force on each other, and that force is known as the gravitational pull. Okay, so we know that if this is an Earth, this is the moon, right? So exactly the Earth and the moon, they both having the gravitational pull on each other, right? So as per some research, we can say that the gravitational pull of the moon could influence the seismic activity on Earth. Okay, the stress existed by the moon's gravitational forces can potentially trigger significant earthquakes. Why? Because beneath the Earth's surface there are some material that are more prone to the moon's gravitational pull. And whenever they got the exact force from the moon, like in the gravitational and all, so ultimately they developed the stress. Okay, and that stress is starting the Earth to be shaken off, and because of the shaking, ultimately the significant earthquakes could be happen, especially in regions that are already in the prone zone of the seismic activities. Like suppose there is an area that is already prone to the seismic activity or the earthquake, and in such area, ultimately the moon's gravitational force acts on. Then what will happen? That area which was previously getting x now will get 2x, and this 2x ultimately generates a power of 4x, and ultimately that could cause a destruction of 6x. Okay, that's why this is said regarding the moon activity. However, moon we know it's already responsible to carry out the tides on the earth, but apart from tides, it also could causes the earthquakes in the seismic activities prone zones. After this, the tectonic moment. Okay, so the tectonic moments, as we had discussed already, these refer to the movement of the Earth's lithospheric plates. Okay, like we can say, suppose if this is an Earth surface, so this surface will be divided into the lithospheric plates, these types. Okay, and these lithospheric plates having the movement over the lava from the asthenosphere. Remember the lava that is on which these plates are moving, that lava is not directly came from mantle. Remember this. Because between the crust and the mantle, there lies a layer that is called the asthenosphere. So basically, these plates are moving on the asthenosphere, not on the lava. Okay? And these movements can cause the various natural disasters. Like as we had discussed, two plates were there, okay, and then they both get collided because they both were floating over the astronosphere. So due to the collision, thus seismic activity would be happen, like seismic energy would be generated, and this seismic activity could cause an earthquake. Okay, because first the P waves will be generated, then the S wave will be generated. All right. This is the result from the sudden release of energy due to the movement of these plates basically. Whenever these plates got collide or the grinding, always the seismic activities will take place. Volcanic eruptions. Now, you will ask, how does the volcanic eruptions could be connected with the plate movement? Like earthquake, we know the plates get moved and that collided with each other and this happens. How does the volcanic eruptions could be done? But before telling you this thing, let me ask you one simple question that I had already asked you. Or you can say this is like a reminder. Okay. The question is very much simple. In the year of 2002, which part of India had faced a devastating earthquake? To answer this, again, you guys will have 30 seconds. Time starts now. Already we had discussed this in the previous lecture. So I don't think so that there may be some difficult type of thing that you could be have to answer this. Okay. So guys, the 20 seconds have been passed off. Last 10 seconds are remaining. Think accurately, think properly, and then try to give the answer. Okay. So count it on. Okay. So your time is going to be up. Last 5 seconds. And the time is up. The correct answer is Gujarat. The state of Gujarat was the one that had faced the devastating earthquake in year of 2002. Another question that I'm going to ask you is that the city of Bhopal had a gas tragedy. Okay, which was the year? Again, I'm repeating. The city of Bhopal had the gas tragedy. In which year that happened? To answer this, again, you guys will have the tenure of 30 seconds to think and answer. And your time is going to be start now. Just think accurately and think properly. Last 10 seconds have been passed off. Last 20s are remaining. Last 10 seconds are there and the thing that I already told you. So there is nothing like that. You could not answer it properly. The time is going to be up and the time's up. The correct answer is 1984. 1984 was that year when city of Bhopal had the major gas tragedy. Okay. So now come to the topic. How does we can say that the volcanic eruptions are sometimes also related with the plate tectonics? So basically, the earthquake is related with the plate tectonics because of the collision, where this plate is moving towards, this plate is moving towards, and they both got collided. But if suppose this is one plate, this is another plate, and these are flowing over the astronosphere. If the movement is in that way, okay, then what will happen? After some time, the magma or lava that was previously present in atmosphere, that will come to the surface like this. Okay, so that's how sometimes the volcanic eruptions where the lava, ashes and harmful gases came to the Earth's surface, this is happens because of the movement of the plates. Okay, and this is influenced by the tectonic plates interactions. Right, like we had. After this, further in the cause of disaster, now we have the seismic waves. Okay, how does the seismic waves carry on? So if we talk about the seismic waves, so seismic waves generally be connected with the earthquakes, which is correct but not in a proper sense, because seismic waves apart from earthquake could have the other reasons also. And what are these reasons? Basically, the seismic waves are the vibrations that travel through the Earth's interior, and after traveling to the Earth's interior, they come to the Earth's surface. Okay? And when they hit the Earth's surface, basically they cause a sudden energy release. And this sudden energy release is basically cause the catastrophic disaster. Like you can say, suppose this is an Earth interior, so this how the seismic waves generated. Okay? And whenever they got collided with the Earth's surface, automatically they caused a sudden energy which they carried out from the Earth's interior towards the Earth's surface. And because they are following the path of Earth's interior than the surface, same like the earthquake, that's why we mainly consider it as an earthquake attached waves, but these are not in reality. Okay? And these waves could be generated by various reasons. There is no one single reason that is responsible to generate these waves. Okay? The reasons could be: the first, volcanic eruptions. Volcanic eruptions are the explosive eruptions could produce the powerful seismic waves. Okay? Explosions. The man-made or the natural explosions, these could also create a seismic waves and energy drawn from the Earth's interior towards the Earth's surface. Landslides. Landslides are generally the rapid movement of rock and the debris that is associated with it. Okay, and they basically moves out from down a slope. Like you can say there was some mountain, and that's how the debris comes from in the landslide. And this movement from upper to downward, that could generate the seismic activity in particular. All right, seismic activity in particular. Thereafter comes the avalanches. Avalanches is sudden and rapid flow of snow and ice down a mountain slope can produce the seismic waves. So we can say landslides are generally on the dry ice area when the rock and debris comes down. Avalanches are generally the sudden and rapid flow of snow and the ice there downs come up mountain slope and could produce the seismic waves. Swiftly flowing rivers. The rapid movement of water could also generate a minor seismic activity. It means this could pass on the energy towards the Earth's interior, and from there that could come to the Earth's surface, but the amount that comes on is different. After this, soil erosion. Soil erosion could also be the important causes of disaster, and how this could be. So first of all, let us understand what do we understand by the soil erosion. So soil erosion is technically a gradual removal of the top soil layer, okay, due to the water, wind, or human activity. Okay, and this removal could lead to the significant environmental and agricultural problems like the human land abuse. So if we employ the poor land management practices, such as we overgrazing the area, we follow the path of deforestation, we employed the improper agriculture techniques, we exacerbate the soil erosion for our various purpose. So ultimately the top soil layer, which is the highly nutritional layer, that will be gradually removed from the soil. Okay. Apart from human land abuse comes the natural factors. If the heavy rainfall was there, ultimately the soil will be dissolved in water and moves away from the place. Flooding. During the floods, again, the soil layer get mixed up with the water, and with the evaporation of water, the soil layer also got removed. Strong winds. The flow of strong winds can accelerate the soil erosion also. Soil erosion can be mitigated by adopting the sustainable land management practices like the contour plowing. Plowing along the contour lines of the land so that we could reduce the runoff. Terracing. Creating the step levels on slope so that we could reduce the soil erosion. Reforestation. Planting a trees to stabilize the soil and prevent the erosion. Okay. So these were the things. So students, basically in this lecture we have finished till here. In the next lecture we will continue from here. Till then, just revise the facts and figures that all we have discussed in this lecture. Be ready for the next lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture, and what we say thank you.